What is up, guys? So today I want to talk about something that that actually has some truths. Going to talk about the difference between marriage and relationships. A lot of us think that after we get married, that's the end game, right? But it's actually the beginning. Now, why I say this is because when you are dating, right? This is before marriage, like take into account dating, honeymoon phase, whatever nonsense that people categorize things into now. But literally just dating and everything before marriage. Okay, that includes engagement and whatnot. Okay, so the thing that actually gets me is that people always tell me that once you find the one for you, you get married, you have kids, that's it, that's the end game. No, it's not. It's actually learning to live with the fella. Now, why I say this is because when you are in a relationship, you don't live with the fella, with the girl or the boy that you like or you love, whichever comes first for you guys. So when that happens, right? You guys plan for dates, you guys plan for outings, sometimes some people do research, they book places, um, they dress up, and they try to spend as much time as they can with their significant other. Now that is such a good thing, it's such a beautiful thing. Now it only starts to dim a little bit, or in some cases dim a lot, when you get married. Now when you guys get married, the first thing that you guys have to do is, usually I'm not really sure about what you do, but for me, is living together, right? Now there is a saying that you don't just marry your wife or your husband, you marry their entire family, right? And truth be told, it is true, right? You don't just marry her, you marry her and her family as well, because some people live with their in-laws, some people live with their other in-laws, whichever family, but some live alone, just them and their significant other. Now, you might be asking, so why am I talking about this? Now, the reason is quite simple. A lot of people, or whether I had been questioned before, questions had been asked. So one of them would be like, hey, why is it that living with in-laws very difficult? I'm like, yes, it is. Now, let's be honest. Why it's difficult is not because living in a new environment, living in a different setting, it's fine and all. You can adapt. Humans can adapt, but that's the thing. You have already adapted into your own family's life. So when you move into your in-laws, or your in-laws are living with you, you have to live by their standards. Now that quite a lot of people that I know who are living with their in-laws have it quite tough, and maybe after a few months or a few years, or maybe after a decade, they have had enough and they want to move out. And it is when that moving out phase, or if they actually eventually go out, out of the in-laws house, so it is only then that they realize that it wasn't as sweet. Marriage wasn't as sweet. Now a lot of the times I get this question: is it easy? No, it's not. Definitely, it's not. I have to change my ways. I'm in a new environment. I'm in a new country. Literally a new country. I'm trying to change my ways to what my in-laws prefer, what my in-laws would want standards from. You know what I'm saying? It's totally a different ballgame. So, to actually adapt after you've been hardwired for almost all your life in another different setting, to actually change and totally flip it over to a different side is quite tough. Now I'm experiencing that, and honestly it's not easy, but I do enjoy every step that I take, because as I go along, I actually become more mature, I become more healthy in a way, I become more insightful, I become more open to certain things, I become more flexible. So it's all about these things, and it all comes down to one thing: whether you want to change or not. Now I'm not saying that you change, growing wings. A good friend of mine used to say that I don't change, right? I adapt. If I changed, I would have grew claws and wings and stuff. which I find quite true. So that, and here's the thing, a lot of people always come to me and ask me, so what happens if I can't take it, if I just want to leave, I just want to live with my wife, or want to live with my significant other, but they don't want to go, then I'm sorry, I can't help you there, because it's between you and your spouse, right? And you guys have to find common ground or common understanding. Now, if you can't find that, then it's going to be very tough for you. And the thing that we don't want to do is, get our significant other to choose between their family and, their parents, and raise them, and, you, right? And we don't ever want to do that, because, separating a family is very tough and it's very sad, right? So then there's other factors, like, what if they already are deciding to have a kid, like a baby. There comes even more pressure, because being a parent is not easy. I'm telling you, man, it's not easy. It's a fun thing, it's fun being a parent. You see your child grow up, you try to path them away, or you try to give them choices, then allow them to make their own decisions and all that. As you see them grow, it's such a beautiful thing. I'm seeing my daughter grow up, it's such a beautiful thing. But the reality here is, when living with parents, regardless of whose parents it is, whether it's an in-law or your own, right? Sometimes the information that you get from them can differ. Now, why I say this is because their generation and your generation is different, right? That includes your child's one. So when the generation is different, the way they do parenting is different. Like many years ago, they don't care whether you are, whether you just came back from school, you're tired, they'll beat the hell out of you if you feel that, if your parents feel that, that you're doing something wrong, or you're not performing well. And now in this generation, that kind of thing is not always advisable, I would say. And they will always, encourage parents to, talk to their kids, explain to them why this is wrong, explain to them why that is wrong. Now, patience is a virtue, and it's not every day that you see it. And majority of the time, a lot of people ask me, like, so what kind of standards do you have for your daughter? I have a lot of standards, different kinds. And how I integrate it into her life as a father is up to me and my wife. Now, I don't do it alone, because it's parents, not parent. It takes two to become one, then to produce one, or more than one, right? And because of that, a lot of the time I have difficulty educating my daughter, or how would I put her in a place that I want her to be, a desired place. But because I know for a fact, if I were to live with my mom, it would happen the same way. Grandparents like to spoil their grandkids, right? Which is, the thing. My grandparents used to always, cook whatever that I like to eat. I love chicken curry, so they always cook chicken curry whenever they know that I'm coming over. They know that I like sambal belacan, so they always prepare. My grandfather will always, prepare it before I come back, so come visit, so that once I come, I have whatever I want to eat. And, they spoil me, right? So that's where a fine line is drawn, because true that you don't want your grandchild to suffer and all that. I understand, right? But at the same time, I don't want my own child to go through a spoiled life. Now, I hate spoiled kids, and that is something that I just disdain with a passion. And it's not only that. Every single time I see kids that are, just rowdy in public, even my daughter will be looking at them like that. And I'm not even kidding when she does that, because sometimes I know for a fact that my daughter's a smart kid, and I believe that all kids are smart, right? That's how the parents guide them and bring them up. And from there, I understand, or we all understand, we parents all understand, that to give a child a good future, we have to give them a harsh life first, because for you to be able to see certain things that you are supposed to see, or you should see, or you can see, you have to be blinded first. Now, why I say this is because sometimes in life you have to fall 20 times to get up 40 times. You have to get up 40 times even though you've only fell down 20 times. Now, why I say this? Every single time you fall, you grow stronger, right? Example, it's the same thing with the skin, the body. If you get a cut on your skin, the skin, forms back and becomes tougher to a certain extent. That's the thing. So every single thing that we educate our child, we have to do it in a way that our child will grow up, or our children will grow up and they'll understand that the things that we do is not for ourselves, it's for them. Now, of course, I mean, as much as possible, I would try to omit, caning them, beating them, but sometimes you have to put in a little bit of pain for them to remember, because pain is a good indicator of what not to do. Remember this very, very well. And I will always encourage my kids to read, because reading is fundamental, fun to mental. So reading is something that I even I do it all every day, all day. We always read science, we always read books, we always read signages. There's so many different things that we do that requires reading. The same thing with mathematics. We need to practice it and apply it before we can actually understand it. So it all boils down to one thing, and that is keeping your child on track. Now, my parents did not live with either side, because both my parents believe that they should be independent, and that brings me back to my next point, which is the relationship between me and my wife. So because me and my wife are always together, sometimes, which also brings back to what I said earlier on, sometimes after marriage is when it really begins. Now you're gonna learn the person's bad habits. You're gonna develop pet peeves that you never had before. You're gonna develop things that you actually do not want the other person to do, but you have no choice but to accept it and move on, right? And you try to situate yourself in a position whereby you have you can compromise with each other, and that is building the relationship, right? You don't just marry and then that's it. You build the marriage, right? And the scaffold of this is that every single time, I'm just saying random words, what the hell. So my point here is that if there is someone like my mom or my wife's mom is in the picture, we have someone to mediate. But sometimes the things that sometimes the mediation is not going to work out because it doesn't work. Now sometimes me and my wife has a bicker, we don't agree on certain things, especially parental things, which all parents have to go through sometimes. I think, I'm not really sure, but every single time that me and my wife, we have different opinions of a certain topic, we will have disagreements, and you'll have the Cold War and whatnot, and that happens in all kinds of relationships. Let's not sugarcoat marriages and say that they are all gonna be sweet, happy, fun. Yes, of course they're gonna be sweet, happy, and fun, but at the same time they're gonna have to be. Sometimes you have to be cruel. Sometimes you have to be realistic. You can't be selfish, and sometimes we need to take a step back, take 2 steps back, and you have to realize that it's not just about yourselves, it's about us. And from there, having someone to mediate is a great thing. Now sometimes it's not a good thing, because once we start getting comfortable with the mediator or the mediation, we start to become lazy, and that doesn't help the marriage. Now I've seen quite a few of people that I know that actually went that route, and it was really nice to see, because he was actually very heartaching. And so what I'm trying to say here is that this whole video, I just want to talk about what religion, not religion, what in the world we're talking about, what relationships and what marriages are. Now, while marriage is most people would say that it's a tedious thing. I don't know why, but the generation that I'm in, you're always in a marriage is such a bore, such a tiring thing. While it has its cons, I would use the word cons, it also has its pros, and I believe that the pros outweigh the cons, and I believe that the things that come out of all these cons are even greater pros. And my wife was asking me earlier, like, hey, you should do it in the afternoon. You should do it in the afternoon when you have time. When right now my baby's asleep, so you should do it. You should do it. I was like, maybe later. And she was like, she got me by the collar, metaphorically. She got me by the collar. It's like, you know what, you have to do this, or else you won't be motivated. You won't have anything to do. You won't have any spark in your eyes. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Though I don't want to admit it, because men have egos, women too, FYI. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And she was like, okay, why not talk about the difference between relationships and marriage? And well, here we are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very long video. Yes, it is a long video. If you have any questions, or you you have any queries that you guys can have. I mean, definitely you can ask me downstairs in the comment section. I will do my best to answer you as honestly as I can, which would be 100% of the time. And I'll give you my opinions, but I will not give you my opinion my way. I'll give you my opinion based on your situation in your environment. So I hope you guys truly enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you really like the video, and give me a subscribe, to the channel if you like the videos that I'm putting up. And one more thing before I go, if you have any requests, topics that you want me to talk about, whether it's about fictional, non-fictional, whether it's serious, whether it's not, just let me know downstairs or just email me. I'll put in the link, and ciao.